I'm getting married, but the groom isn't my boyfriend Julian. With whom I've been in a relationship for 7 years. When I asked him for the third time, when are we getting married? He replied perfunctorily, let things take their natural course. Don't get married just for the sake of getting married. But in a blink of an eye, on the night of his promotion, he booked the top floor of the Grand Court Hotel just to celebrate his first love's birthday. I had no idea he got promoted. He had never celebrated my birthday. Even the gifts were given as a belated gesture. Every time there was only one sentence, sorry, I've been too busy recently and forgot. This time, I was completely disheartened. I agreed to a family-arranged marriage and the wedding date is in half a month. That night, I brought up marriage to Julian again. Just like the previous 2 times, he casually found an excuse to fob me off. There are a lot of things going on in the company recently. Let's talk about it later. My heart sank little by little. But Julian, I'm already 29 and will be 30 soon. It's just a marriage certificate. Is it really that serious? Under the dim light, Julian looked indifferent. There were also his friends in the private room, but none of them stood up for me at this moment. After a long silence, I heard my own voice say, it is. Julian, how many 7-year periods can there be in a life? Julian frowned, showing obvious impatience. Ava, I've said I'm busy recently. It's not like I won't marry you. Is it necessary to keep pestering me about this? I stood stiff-backed and stubbornly in front of these people, like a clown, full of embarrassment. Ava, your persistent entanglement really makes you look cheap. Julian has said he'll marry you. What more do you want? Pressuring him to marry you like this is really embarrassing for women. His friends trampled on my dignity with just a few words. But Julian didn't even lift his eyelids, allowing his friends to humiliate me. Suddenly, I laughed. I thought I wouldn't be able to wait for this wedding. I picked up my bag and turned to walk out. Behind me, no one tried to stop me. On the contrary, someone added fuel to the fire. Julian, Olivia is about to return to the country. Why did you get together with Ava right after Olivia went abroad? My steps of leaving paused slightly, and my back stiffened in place. I was also curious about this answer. Back then, I chased him for so long, but he didn't agree. But later, he suddenly did. At that time, I was overjoyed and didn't care about anything, let alone whether he was with me because Olivia went abroad. What else could it be? Just wanted to make her jealous. I heard Julian's casual tone. My vision suddenly became blurred. I smiled mockingly. He really didn't care and couldn't wait to say it right in front of me. Since Julian had said such things to avoid getting married, there was no need for me to entangle any longer. It turns out that love can be faked. Julian and I got into a cold war. After that day, neither of us contacted the other. I thought it was a cold war, but Julian tacitly assumed we had broken up. One day, I happened to be doing something near Julian's company. Near noon, I had lunch in the vicinity. Unexpectedly, I met a colleague we both knew. Seeing me, she came up and greeted me enthusiastically. Congratulations, Ava. I really envy your good fortune. Congratulations? I was completely confused. You don't know yet? Your Julian has been promoted again. Now he's the president of the entire Asia-Pacific region. The appointment was made by the headquarters a week ago. A week ago. I counted silently. That was before I asked Julian when we were getting married. It was really ridiculous. As his girlfriend, I knew nothing about his personal situation. It turns out that from the very beginning, I didn't exist in his life plan. I was probably just an insignificant passerby to him, so he didn't even share such an important thing as his promotion with me. I was planning our future. But he was thinking about escaping. Ava, are you okay? Ava. She looked at me worriedly. I smiled at her and walked out of the restaurant in a daze. Just as I walked out of the store, I happened to see Julian, dressed in a suit. He is being surrounded and coming out of the opposite company building. And beside him, the one he was protecting tightly with his hand was Olivia, who had left him to go abroad 7 years ago. The colleague followed out and naturally saw it too. Don't get me wrong. Today is to celebrate Julian's promotion, so Julian is treating everyone. We're all together. That's why I came here early to check if the reserved private room is available in advance. I thought my face must be very scary at this moment. But I still calmly explained, I'm not misunderstanding. Her name is Olivia, Julian's first love. She was obviously stunned by my attitude that I wanted to leave before Julian and his group arrived, but unfortunately, I was a step too late. Ava, what a coincidence. Did you come here specially to celebrate my birthday? The group soon arrived at the door, and Olivia walked straight towards me. Julian is really something. I said I just got back to the country and didn't want to celebrate my birthday this year. But I didn't expect him to bring you here. Olivia had a coquettish look like a little woman. In previous years, he was afraid I'd be lonely, so he would fly over to celebrate with me. This year I'm back, and there are so many friends with me. How could I be lonely? She took my hand, acting as intimate as a sister. He even insisted on combining it with his promotion. Do you think this is to celebrate his promotion or my birthday? My face turned pale, but Olivia seemed completely oblivious. She continued, Ava, you have to talk to him about this later. I darkened my face. This wasn't asking me to talk to Julian at all. She was clearly coming to assert her sovereignty in front of me. I raised my hand and tried to pull it away forcefully. But she held it tightly, and I couldn't pull it out at all. Immediately, my face became even uglier. Just as I was about to pull my hand back with more force, she suddenly let go, and her body went limp and fell directly to the ground. I instinctively reached out to pull her. But before I could touch her, I was pushed hard by a strong force. I fell backwards without any precaution, landing on my coccyx, and the pain made my eyes instantly filled with tears. Ava, what are you doing? The accusing voice came down without distinguishing right from wrong. I slightly raised my head and only had time to see his gloomy and fierce side profile. But in an instant, he had already gently picked up Olivia with a tender expression. I'll take you to the hospital. Julian held her and left without looking back. I stared blankly at their backs, and the tears in my eyes couldn't stop flowing. Julian, it's really over between us. It turns out that an unclear beginning will also end in an unclear way. I was in so much pain that I couldn't stand up. In the end, it was his colleague who took me to the hospital. To avoid running into them, I specifically asked his colleague to take me to another hospital. Since there was no one by my side, I went through the whole process of examination and treatment in a wheelchair by myself. When my best friend came to pick me up and learned the whole story, she cursed Julian for being heartless. Previously, every time she cursed Julian, I would defend him. But this time, I didn't. I asked my best friend to take me back to the apartment where Julian and I lived together, and I packed my things and left. I turned around and looked at the house where we had lived together for so many years. I had naively thought that we were the closest lovers. But now it seems like a big joke. Even his promotion I had to learn from others. It turns out that only I thought so. In Julian's world, I was shut out. This time, it's really goodbye. That night, I saw a WeChat Moments post from Olivia that a friend sent me. It was a photo of Julian's back. In the photo, he was bending down to put on shoes for her. When we were together, once when we were going out, I had too many things in my hands and couldn't spare a hand to tie my shoelaces, so I asked him to help. He just stood there indifferently and said, "You can just put down your things. I'm busy." At that time, I could see through the screen that he was just watching videos. It turns out that being loved and not being loved can be so obvious. Ava, don't be sad. It's not worth it for a scumbag. My best friend, seeing me sad, was heartbroken. I smiled indifferently and said, it's okay. I won't be sad for him anymore. Emma, I'm getting married. My best friend was obviously shocked by my words. Actually, my family had arranged a marriage for me a long time ago. To be exact, it was an agreement between my mother and her best friend when we were kids. The two of them agreed that if they both had daughters, we would be sisters. If they both had sons, we would be brothers. If it happened to be one boy and one girl, then our families would become in-laws. Unexpectedly, it came true in the end, and it was indeed one boy and one girl. My family had urged me several times to go back and meet him, but because of Julian, I had never agreed. My mom was very efficient. As soon as she received my call, she finalized the wedding date with her best friend. She even booked a flight ticket for me to go home that night. Because of the injury to my coccyx, I was afraid my family would worry, so I found an excuse to go back a few days later. But I had been living at my best friend's place for 3 days, and Julian didn't even notice that I had moved out. It was really ironic. The day I went to the hospital for a re-examination, I didn't expect to run into Olivia, who was also there for a re-examination. Of course, Julian was with her. My best friend couldn't stand it and couldn't help but retort, "Julian, can't you tell who your girlfriend is? Hanging around a scheming girl all day long. Aren't you afraid of being poisoned by her?" I sat in the wheelchair, trying hard not to laugh. I knew that she had been holding back before when I didn't let her scold, and now she must be having a good time. "Ava, don't misunderstand. Julian is just accompanying me to the hospital because he thinks I'm pitiful and have no one to take care of me," Olivia explained in a coy way, as if she was afraid that I wouldn't misunderstand. "Who allowed you to call her Ava?" My best friend didn't give her any leeway. "I think this taking care will end up in bed. Ava, control your person." Julian got angry immediately. My best friend wanted to retort again, but I stopped her. If it was before, seeing Julian defending her like this would definitely make me sad. But now, it turns out that once you let go, it doesn't hurt that much. "Julian, don't be mean to Olivia. Miss Ava, she just cares about you too much. I know what she's like better than you. You don't need to speak for her." I coldly watched the two of them singing in unison. They really seemed deeply in love. "Emma, let's go." My best friend pushed me away. "It turns out that this is what it feels like when you don't love someone anymore. Miss Ava, you really don't have to misunderstand Julian." I intended to let them go, but Olivia just wouldn't let me. "Misunderstand? Then tell me, how did I misunderstand?" I turned around, losing patience. "Tell me, did I misunderstand that you have a crush on Julian, or that you're stealing someone else's man, or maybe that you're showing off your acting skills?" "Miss Ava, I didn't." "Ava, that's enough." Before I could do anything, Julian was already protecting her. "Fine, do whatever you want. Just don't show up in front of me." My best friend pushed me away. Behind us, we heard Olivia's aggrieved crying. "I'm sorry. I didn't know Miss Ava was here. She must have misunderstood." Should I go and explain again? No need. You can't reason with an unreasonable person. Let her make a scene. She'll stop when she's had enough. Julian comforted her softly, not forgetting to belittle me. Even my best friend couldn't stand it. "Ava, I'm fine." From the moment I decided to let go of Julian, he could no longer hurt me. The examination went smoothly. I just need to pay attention to the walking time every day, and the wound will heal in a while. When we came out, there was a car parked at the hospital entrance. Gabriel got out of the car. He was dressed in a suit, with a pair of long, straight legs that made him look even more handsome. Maybe he had just come out of some event in a hurry. He didn't even change his clothes. He just rolled up the sleeves of his shirt to his elbows, revealing the expensive watch on his wrist, which made him look more like a stable and reserved successful person. "Sorry, Ava. I saw you were being bullied, so I secretly contacted your fiancé." My best friend bent down behind me and explained in a low voice. "This is also a good chance to see how your fiancé treats you." I didn't blame her. Instead, I should thank her for making me realize that I had been mistaking a stone for a pearl all along. I was really blind. I had never thought that getting engaged to Gabriel was such a lucky thing. Not a few days later, the news that Julian and Olivia were together reached my ears. Olivia had only been back in the country for a few days before she joined Julian's company as his secretary. They not only went in and out together, but also were inseparable during working hours. Wherever Julian was, Olivia could surely be found. Our mutual friend sent me photos of the two of them attending a banquet together. In the photos, Olivia stood cutely beside him. Perhaps she was saying someone was saying something, and Julian slightly leaned in, lowering his head to listen. Their mannerisms were intimate. I knew that they were just making fun of me. After all, over the years, I had been rejected 3 times when I proposed marriage, and I had long been the topic of conversation and a joke among his friends. Anyone could tell that Julian didn't want to marry me. Only I was stupid enough not to admit the failure of this relationship. It had been so many days, and Julian hadn't contacted me. I'm afraid he didn't even notice that I had long moved out of our apartment. At this moment, he should be indulging in Olivia's tender embrace, forgetting all about everything else. I deleted those friends who I had painstakingly tried to get close to in order to integrate into Julian's social circle. When my finger slid to Julian's name, I silently clicked delete. This time, it was really goodbye. The day of my engagement to Gabriel was approaching. This time when he came, I simply went back to my hometown with him. The reason why I came to this city for development was because Julian was here. In order to be with him, I left my parents and my hometown without hesitation, just to be by Julian's side as soon as possible. Looking back now, I really was too infatuated with love.I in my hometown. We visited both of our parents. Due to the tight schedule, we chose to have a simple engagement. On the day of the engagement, apart from both sets of parents and important siblings on both sides, no one else was invited. Gabriel respected me very much, so the whole event was arranged according to my preferences. Even so, after the engagement ceremony ended, he still looked guilty. I'm sorry. It was so simple. I've wronged you. I shook my head with a smile. No, I can tell that the whole engagement was arranged with great care. I like it very much. This was my sincere words. Only today did I realize that to see if someone has you in their heart, you just need to see if they put their heart into it. I looked at the diamond ring on my middle finger and couldn't help but smile. Someone who sincerely wants a future with you is afraid of not giving enough. From this day on, I not only gained a considerate and attentive fiancé who was as good as a model son-in-law, but also an additional 80 million yuan as betrothal gifts deposited in the bank. On the 10th day after I moved out of the apartment, Julian finally noticed that I was gone. That was also the first morning after my engagement to Gabriel. I was woken up by the continuous ringing of the phone. I was too familiar with this ringtone. This was the exclusive ringtone I had set for Julian on purpose, so that I could answer his call as soon as possible. But since setting this ringtone, the number of calls I received from him could be counted on my fingers. Most of the time, it was me who took the initiative to call him. Suddenly hearing it ring now, I felt a sense of trance and unreality. Where are you? Why aren't you staying in the apartment properly and running around outside? I listened to Julian's angry questioning voice on the other end of the phone and just found it ridiculous. Look, even now, he still thought I was just running around. I really had no intention of getting involved with him anymore. Just as I was about to hang up the phone, Olivia's gentle voice came from the other end. Julian, no one coaxes a girl like this. Ava must have been scared away by you. My hand that was about to hang up the phone paused. I found it a bit funny. Olivia's tricks were just so limited. She kept repeating the same old things without any new ideas. But even so, Julian just fell for it. On the phone, Olivia continued her act. These days, you've been busy taking care of me. Did you neglect her? She must have misunderstood us. Girls need to be coaxed. Who would want to date you like this? Give me the phone. I'll explain to Ava. The next second, Olivia's voice came through. Miss Ava, this is Olivia. It's not what you think between Julian and me. Julian is clumsy with words and can't express himself well. I'll talk to him properly later. While Olivia was saying it was a misunderstanding, her manner of acting as Julian's official girlfriend showed no sign of it being a misunderstanding at all. I interrupted her mercilessly. There's no misunderstanding. Also, I'm already engaged. I have nothing to do with Julian. If Miss Olivia likes him, you can have him. I hung up the phone and when I turned around, I saw Gabriel standing behind me at a glance. I felt a bit embarrassed immediately. How long have you been standing there? Somehow, even though I hadn't done anything wrong, I felt a sense of unease as if I had been caught in an affair. Before this, Gabriel and I had almost no intersection in our lives. Even now that I know he's my fiancé and I've made up my mind to spend the rest of my life with him, I'm still not quite used to it. Especially the powerful aura of a superior person that naturally emanates from him, which is hard to ignore. Gabriel seemed to notice my embarrassment. The slightly raised corners of his mouth showed kindness. He took a step forward, reached out his hand and tucked the long hair that was messed up by the wind behind my ear. Since you said we're engaged, I couldn't help but widen my eyes and forgot to react for a moment. Gabriel affectionately rubbed the top of my head. Get dressed. We'll have to accompany you back to your parents' home later. When we got home, it was almost noon. My mother was moving some gifts in the living room. Mom, what are these? Weren't these sent back by you two in advance? I shook my head in confusion, then looked at Gabriel beside me, surprised that he was so thoughtful. He had actually prepared the gifts for visiting my parents after marriage in advance and sent them over first. But when Gabriel shook his head at me, I was stunned. I really couldn't figure out who else could have prepared them if it wasn't him. At this moment, the exclusive ringtone of my phone rang again. Ava, you should know when to stop. You just think I don't value you enough, right? I heard you went back to your hometown, so I sent the things there. Stop making a fuss and come back quickly. Even now, Julian still thought I was just making trouble. I hung up the phone without hesitation. Mom, these were sent by mistake. I'll send them back later. I moved out again the things that my mother had moved in. I immediately contacted the courier guy to come and pick up the package. After I finished, I realized that Gabriel had been standing by the side, silently helping from the very beginning. I subconsciously glanced at him, feeling a bit embarrassed. As if he could read my mind, he smiled at me indifferently and said, "It's okay. Just deal with them if you don't like them." "Aren't you going to ask who sent these?" I asked tentatively. Even though there was no strong emotional foundation between us, I still hoped that our future married life would go smoothly. I didn't want there to be any rifts between us because of irrelevant people. Gabriel was very gentlemanly. "You'll tell me when you want to." But the more gentlemanly he was, the more guilty I felt. Obviously, I hadn't done anything to be sorry to him actually. I was just about to explain when a WeChat message came in on my phone. "Deal with it first." Gabriel rubbed my head and walked away. He gave me plenty of personal space. The message was from a colleague of Julian's company. Previously, in order to please Julian, I secretly added his assistant's WeChat to easily inquire about his schedule. I opened it and found that the other party had sent a photo. A pair of guanine statues were broken on the ground. From the blurry picture, it should be a piece of covert photography. These two guanine statues were not ordinary ones. I had secretly gone to the temple to pray for Julian. At that time, my heart was full of Julian. So even though I didn't believe in gods and Buddhas, when I heard that guanine could bless one's official career, I walked on the 188-step staircase leading to the temple, kowtowing every 3 steps in the heavy snow at -15 degrees Celsius. When I reached the temple on the mountaintop, my whole body was soaked with snow, my nose was red, and my hands were so stiff that I had no feeling. After I came back, I had a high fever for many days that wouldn't go down. Julian didn't want me to go to his company, so later I secretly asked someone to put these guanine statues in his office. They had been there for 3 years. So much so that I had forgotten to take them with me when I left. Julian's assistant called me on a voice call. "Miss Ava, Miss Olivia somehow broke the guanine statues you gave to Julian." Outside the screen, Olivia's voice came. "Julian, I'm sorry. I didn't know these were from Miss Ava. How about I buy a new pair and compensate her? They're just a pair of ornaments. If they're broken, they're broken." The man's indifferent voice carried a bit of impatience. My hand holding the phone tightened slightly. I should have expected this. He didn't even care about me, so how could he care about the things I gave him? Julian's assistant obviously heard it too and was a bit at a loss, not knowing whether to hang up or not. I said calmly, "In the future, you don't need to tell me anything about Julian." I raised my eyes and happened to see Gabriel's tall figure squatting on the ground, helping my mother pick vegetables. He would look up from time to time and talk to my mother. This scene instantly touched my heart. As if sensing my gaze, Gabriel turned his head and looked over. Then his expression changed slightly. He got up and walked towards me. "What's wrong? Why are you crying all of a sudden?" He reached out his hand, ready to wipe my tears. I quickly raised my hand and wiped the corner of my eye, only to find that I was actually crying. I suddenly stepped forward and reached out to hug his waist. "What's wrong?" Gabriel was completely confused by me. I shook my head randomly. "Nothing. I just think getting engaged is really nice." After getting engaged, we didn't rush back. Instead, we stayed in our hometown to accompany our parents. Every day, we either went to my parents' house for a meal or to his parents' house. Originally, I was worried that Gabriel's parents would have some opinions because of the rumors about me and Julian, but after meeting them, I found that it was just the opposite. They all liked me very much. Right after we got engaged, the parents of both families had already started planning the wedding. Well, there's no need to be in such a hurry. I smiled awkwardly. How can we not be in a hurry? It's a great thing that Ava can take in our brat. Gabriel's mother had a kind face. We have to marry her in as soon as possible to feel at ease. I shyly lowered my eyes and secretly glanced at Gabriel beside me from the corner of my eye. When he saw the look I gave him, he leaned over. If you think it's too hasty, we can slow down. It's not that. I'm just afraid of wronging you. I really thought so. Before this, Gabriel didn't know me and had no contact with me. It was really unfair to make him suddenly pay for a childhood agreement. Gabriel, do you have someone you like? I was suddenly curious. Such a nice person like him, how could there be no one by his side? I was afraid that I might break up a couple without knowing it, just like Julian and Olivia. He raised his eyes, and the deep pupils emitted a dim light that was hard to understand. Don't worry. She has someone in her heart. My mouth opened slightly in surprise. But then I realized I was being impolite and quickly explained, I just think it's her loss that she didn't choose you. Gabriel stared straight at me with a meaningful look. In a blink of an eye, our wedding date was settled while we were whispering to each other. The way I looked at Gabriel had a bit more pity, as if we were in the same boat. I will treat you well. I reached out and held his hand, seriously. Early in the morning when Julian entered the company, his assistant informed him that there was a large box of express delivery from my hometown in the office. On the surface, he didn't care, but when he saw the huge express box in the office, his face suddenly changed. Julian knew better than anyone else that no matter how he treated me in the past, I never dared to talk back to him. Every time, it was always me who bowed my head first and coaxed him. In this box, besides the things he bought for my parents, there were also those he had given me over the years. To be precise, they weren't really given by him, but things I had asked him for. On every important festival, anniversary, and my birthday, Julian seemed to be able to forget them completely. I still remember on my birthday this year, he told me in advance that he had booked a revolving restaurant in the most expensive hotel in the city. At that time, I thought that after so many years together, he finally remembered my birthday. When I showed up in full dress with makeup that took 3 hours to apply, I found out that he had called me there just to win over his foreign clients. Because the translator for the foreign clients fell ill due to acclimatization as soon as they arrived, and it was difficult to find a translator proficient in Spanish, a less common language at that moment. Coincidentally, I could speak Spanish. Throughout the process, I was busy translating and didn't even have a chance to drink a sip of water. On the way back, I saw a young couple on the roadside celebrating with a small cake. I felt both envious and sad. With red eyes, I told him that it was my birthday. Julian was only stunned for a moment, and then he was indifferent again. Sorry, I'll give you the gift later. 3 days later, I finally received my birthday gift. It was the same perfume that he had given me for 5 consecutive years. He didn't even bother to be perfunctory. So this time, I packed up dozens of bottles of perfume from the same brand and the same style that he had given me over the years and sent them to him. When Julian opened the express delivery, his eyes were bloodshot, and his handsome face trembled slightly, almost imperceptibly. When all the past became tangible, he suddenly realized how much he had neglected me before. He just got used to it, used to having a voice in his ear, and used to the feeling of being loved. From the beginning, he had just regarded me as a substitute for Olivia to heal his broken heart. But now, clearly Olivia was back and by his side, yet he felt that something was wrong everywhere. Julian took out his phone and made a call. The cold voice of the phone indicated that he had been directly blocked. Just then, the assistant came in. Give me your phone. The assistant was confused but still did as he was told. The call went through. Sure enough, she had only blocked his number. Ava, I don't care where you are. Get back here and take your cat away immediately. Julian and I had a cat together. It was a stray cat. One day, when it was raining heavily, I found it in the bushes in the community. It seemed to have been bullied by other stray cats. Its leg was injured, and the skin and flesh were a bit everted. If it wasn't rescued in time and got caught in the rain, the wound could easily get infected, and its leg might be disabled. That day, it was exactly the second time I brought up marriage to Julian and was rejected. Looking at it in the bushes, I suddenly felt a sense of kinship. Little cat, are you unwanted too? Immediately, I made a major decision to take it home. I rushed it to the veterinary clinic that night and even got scratched by it on the way. When Julian found out, he scolded me for being overly sympathetic. I didn't bother to argue with him. Later, after I brought it home, it was initially not used to the new environment and was full of vigilance. Gradually, it got used to the new surroundings and started to become clingy to me. On the day Olivia came back, it suddenly got a broken bone and was injured. So I sent it to the hospital. As a result, I had forgotten about it these days. I pulled my thoughts back from the memories. You can just ask the pet store to send it to me by express. Ava, you were the one who wanted to raise it, and now you're the one who wants to abandon it. Are you really that irresponsible? Me, which ear of yours heard me say I don't want it? Pets can't take airplanes. Do you know how many pets die during transportation? After a short silence, I said, then send it to Emma. Emma will bring it to me later. Julian suddenly panicked. He made up a clumsy excuse randomly, the cat won't adapt to a new place. It will have a stress reaction. It was only at this moment that Julian woke up as if from a dream and realized that he was scared because of my departure. But all of this was no longer important to me. I'll ask Emma to pick it up. I didn't want to entangle with him any longer and hung up the phone directly. So I didn't hear Julian's words, it can't live without its parents, Ava. We promised to raise it for a lifetime. In the following days, I was very busy. Busy trying on wedding dresses, busy booking the wedding banquet, and busy preparing for my wedding with Gabriel. Gabriel was writing the wedding invitations by hand. He always smiled and said, I've already wronged you during the engagement. I can't let you be wronged in the wedding. But I never felt wronged. Looking at the invitations he wrote stroke by stroke, I suddenly realized that since the engagement, Gabriel had done a lot for me but I hadn't done anything for him yet. So I decided to design a wedding ring by myself as the ring for our marriage and put it on him at the wedding. Since I didn't have any design experience in this area, I had to secretly go out to learn from a master, hiding it from Gabriel. Fortunately, the teacher who taught me was very professional and experienced. Soon, I drew the pattern I wanted. To show my sincerity, I participated in all the later production processes. Although the workmanship was a bit rough, I finally managed to make a finished product. On the day of the wedding, when I put this ring on Gabriel's hand, I saw his body trembling obviously with excitement. Regardless of the relatives and friends present, he hugged me tightly. That was the first time Gabriel kissed me. Ava, this is the best gift I've ever received in my life. I was a bit embarrassed. The handicraft was really not very presentable. But besides presenting my sincere heart to him, I really didn't know what else Gabriel lacked. On the day of the wedding, my best friend also came. She also brought my cat. But she didn't dare to give it to me, thinking that it would be bad luck to bring the cat that Julian and I raised together to such a happy occasion. She also brought news about Julian. It was said that he had a falling out with Olivia. Olivia made a big scene at his company, but in the end, it was revealed that she had an unseemly private life and knowingly became the other woman. She was even beaten up by the wife of the original partner. When Julian found out, he didn't go to see her. I smiled and didn't care. It turned out that when you don't care about someone, these things can't hurt you. I only knew that it was the cat I picked up. It was my cat. It had nothing to do with Julian. The life after marrying Gabriel made me realize that loving someone can be such a colorful experience. I originally thought that it was already a stroke of luck for me to get married through a family-arranged marriage and have a husband who is gentle, refined, humble, and polite. I thought that we would treat each other with respect, just like a couple in ancient times who showed deep respect in daily life. But unexpectedly, Gabriel showed me that love can be made tangible. I saw a photo of a girl's back in his bedroom. It was me on my 18-year-old coming-of-age ceremony. Later, I learned that Gabriel had come to my coming-of-age ceremony. However, since Julian was standing beside me at that time, he just watched me from afar. And the servant in Gabriel's house secretly told me that in the first drawer of his study, there was a gift for my coming-of-age ceremony. I secretly took a look. It was a very delicate ring. So even at that time, he had already been thinking about marrying me. Gabriel put that ring on my finger and stared at me. Ava, do you remember I told you that the person I likes someone else? I thought for a moment. He had indeed said that. Actually, that person is you. The only person in my heart has always been you. I couldn't help crying with joy. I was extremely glad that after all the twists and turns, we didn't miss each other. Seeing me crying, Gabriel panicked. He clumsily wiped my tears. What's wrong? Why are you crying? I hugged him tightly. Gabriel, marrying you is the most correct decision I've ever made in my life.